Manuel Barrera, Meme, Manny to some. Houston's administrative fee. That's what John Whitmire calls it, administrative fee. I'm fairly sure he calls it administrative fee because but $5 a month that he's going to charge people like me and about 400,000 other households they're going to use that money to pay administrators. See, right now they're paying administrators with this fund. Well, they're going to take money from this fund to pay them here. And in fact, they're moving the whole thing over here. So, yes, it's going to balance the budget because they're going to take at least this year about $140 million from the water and sewage fees that we pay. Those water and sewage fees, they're supposed to be dedicated for water and sewage and flooding. Years ago in East Parker, sold us a bill of goods that sewage fee, if we voted for it, actually it was a tax, but that it would go for sewage, for drainage, for flooding. Almost immediately, she took that money and she used it to pay all the city employees that were already getting paid for working on the same projects that they were working on. And this is exactly what's going to happen with John Whitmire. He's not promising to fix our garbage collection. He's not promising anything. The only thing he's promising is that now it looks like the budget is balanced. And technically it is. But that money was there anyhow. It's just that the water and sewage fund could not be used for police. They could not be used for firemen. And that's basically what it's going to be used for. He gave the police and firemen a very high increase pay raise. And, it didn't make our city safer. It won't make our city safer. And in fact, Bill King, and Bill King is normally fairly right about most things. He said he would be happy if the police could just solve crimes. They don't. They can't. They do not solve crimes. In fact, anybody that has family members in the police department, they know that they get paid for 8 hours work, but they don't work 8 hours. They take about an hour for lunch, maybe longer. They get paid while they're at lunch. They claim that they're going to, in case they get this emergency call, they're going to take off running and leave their lunch or dinner there. Well, maybe it could happen if they get a call that says officer down. But in all likelihood, they're not going to do that. And plus, you have a lot of police officers that are on desk jobs. They take a lunch also, and they get paid while they're eating lunch. That's something that most American workers do not get. You work 8 hours, and if you get an hour's lunch, you don't get paid for that hour. You're at least 9 hours that you have to be there for 8 hours of being there and working. HPD should do the same thing. I'm not sure what the fire department does, but I'm sure that, there's not too many of them that decide to leave the fire department. If they do, it's only to go to another one. They're good paying jobs. So, I don't mind them getting large pay raises, but we need to have the money. If Whitmire doesn't have the balls to tell people, hey, we need more tax dollars, then maybe he needs to quit being a politician. That's all he's been his entire life. Over 50 years, a politician. He's become very good at telling lies. So when you see John Whitmire's mouth moving like this, chances are he's not telling the truth. The only other politician that I've seen worse is Donald Trump. Now, Edward Pollard, he's a politician, but I can tell you that at least he has been our best city council member in the districts that I've lived in. And actually, I've lived in this side of town, the southwest side, since 1973. So that's what, 40, how many years is that? 80, that's 20, 46. So that's over 50 years. So he has been the best. John Lasseter was also very good. But, I know it's going to pass, and I don't mind paying $5. One of the things about getting old, and I am old, is when you hit 65, and if you're lucky, the value of your house is down. And so in essence, you may wind up like me, not paying any property taxes. And you know, I'm not going to complain that I'm not paying any property taxes, but for over 40 years, I paid a ton of money in property taxes. But still, there's a lot of people that they cannot afford it. And most of them are black and brown people. You know, the worst neighborhoods where they have the most sewage, where they have the most problems, are in the black and brown neighborhoods. But you know, John Whitmire is going to send his little doggies out into the communities, telling the community, oh, look, we're doing this, we're doing that, trust us. And all those little Tio Tomas and Uncle Toms, they're going to do what they're told because they like being politicians. And besides, they get to dress nice, they get invited to all kinds of things, they get free tickets to the rodeo, they get free tickets to basketball games, the Rockets, U of A, you name it, chances are they get free tickets. Do they all use it? Nah, maybe, maybe not. From my experiences, most of them do use it. So just keep that in mind, because, and watch who votes in favor of that $5 fee, and just don't vote for them. Don't vote for those persons. If somebody else is running against them, vote for those people. Yeah, I'm getting sick and tired of them screwing the little guys. You know, at some point in time, little guys have to stand up and say, no más, ya basta. Adiós. Manuel Barrera, meme.